The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is powered by Cornerstone Gundog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. Out in the field, how you've prepared determines how you'll perform. With balanced fat and protein to support peak condition, Eukanuba Premium Performance Dog Food enhances strength, energy, and endurance. So when the pavement ends and the truck doors swing open, you and your dogs are ready for anything. Strong, focused, ready for anything? That's a Eukanuba dog. Since 1898, Old Town has been building the most advanced, quality watercraft products to give you the very best experience on the water. Whether you're hunting, fishing, or enjoying a relaxing paddle on the lake, there's a boat for every type of adventurer. If you haven't seen it, check out their newest offering, the new grab-and-go watercraft designed to function as your boat, blind, and retriever. The easy-to-conceal, 11-foot 9-inch, 56-pound Solo Sportsman is the ideal craft for those in search of a stable, lightweight craft that's easy to paddle and even easier to transport or stash. Designed with the hunter and angler in mind, the Solo Sportsman is equipped with thoughtful shell, tackle, and tool storage, a comfortable and adjustable seat and foot braces, an accessory track, and rod holders. Check it out at oldtowncanoe.com/sportsman. Gunner kennels are engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner in a category all its own. They were started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner's dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunner.com. All right, welcome to episode 190 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. We're your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. You can follow us on all social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're a Facebook guy, you can head over to our listeners group. You can chat with a lot of like-minded hunters and my co-host, Dan Hrushka. Dan, what's up, man?
You know, I know months ago you mentioned that you weren't going to cut your hair until there was a cure for COVID, and I didn't believe you. But I don't know if we're going to put this video up, but your flow is incredible right now.
I mean, I can't believe you would question my character on such things.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's been since February since I cut it, so it's good. It's, you know, I spent a lot of time on the baseball field this summer and this fall, and it's just like built-in sunscreen for my neck. It's pretty solid.
Have you put it in a man bun?
Negative. The top and the front is a little thin for that kind of deal, so it lives under a hat most of the time.
There you
go. No man buns.
Let it escape out the back.
Correct. It kind of looks like a mullet, sort of like, which I'm completely fine with. But yeah, when I run around, it flops around pretty good, so it's pretty neat.
So what's the long-term plan for this?
It's a day-by-day thing. I'm starting to get a little pressure on the outside to cut it, which, you know, I'm not particularly interested in cutting it right now. I would kind of like to see if I could get a year just to say I've done it.
Not too far away.
I was gonna say the longer we go into the fall, I mean, every day closer is the day more realistic that happens. So we'll see. I mean, there's no imminent plan to cut it. That's for certain.
I started along that path with you, and then it went away real quick. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you know, it takes a special breed to commit to something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not 75 hard or anything, but you know, I can grow some hair.
I think today's 60 for me.
It's solid.
Feeling good.
So my question is, what happens when 75 days is over? Do you just go back to crushing beers and eating pizza, or what?
No, there are different phases. There's phase 1, 2, and 3, and you start to incorporate different things, and it's pretty much like it just builds a better mental strength for you, I would say. So it's not like a weight loss program. It's more of like a time management and just like um, not being a lazy POS essentially. And it teaches you how much you can actually get done in a day versus going and sitting on the couch. And I needed that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool.
So it starts to incorporate different things. I think phase one, you incorporate like a 5 minute cold shower every day, and then like a power list where you write down, I think it starts with just 5 items that you're going to accomplish that day, whatever it may be. So you just
Hmm.
keep building. And I haven't even looked into phase two or phase three, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do if I'm going to go into those phases. I don't know if I'm that 75 hard, but definitely
You're missing the
the
limeritas. That's what I'm reading between the lines here. The tea leaves are telling me you miss a limerita now and again.
no, and that really, I mean, so I didn't have, I'm probably like 65, 70 days without a beer. And especially going through summer, I thought it'd be a lot more difficult than what it was. But I mean, this is the best I've felt in a long time. And I just think the working out, and I don't know, it just, I'm in a lot better place than I was 60 some days ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Keep it up.
Yeah.
And this week, man, we're going to talk a little bit about something that kind of came to light after some recent events in Major League Baseball. Oddly enough, I was watching. I mean, this is probably 3 weeks ago now that this happened or better. But it was a game where Fernando Tatis Jr. swung and hit a home run on a 3-0 count. I can't remember all the particulars. It might have even been like a grand slam or something weird, right?
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. I
it
remember
was a
that.
3-0 count where the opposing manager was upset about it. His own manager even criticized him for swinging 3-0, and it brought into this whole discussion of the unwritten rules of baseball, right? And a lot of people have been very critical of the unwritten rules in baseball, particularly when it comes to throwing at people and guys pimping home runs and all that kind of stuff. And it got us kind of thinking about what are some of the unwritten rules of waterfowl hunting, and are there things out there that guys or gals need to know about that if they do it or don't do it when they're in the field, it could tick some other people off, or it could make some people, sensitive about the situation. So we kind of thought we might run through a handful of some of our unwritten rules, or at least we believe them to be unwritten rules, and that's kind of the beauty of unwritten rules is they mean something different to every person. Just like in Major League Baseball, I got no problem if he wants to tee it up on 3-0 and hit a bomb. I mean, it's good for the game. I got no issues with that. Apparently, a lot of people
you're
do.
you're a free swinger. You're letting it fly no matter what. If
Hey,
it's there, you're trying to put it out of the park.
no doubt. But I mean, and I was a pitcher. I mean, I don't understand the mentality of getting upset with somebody when they pimp a home run, or he's up 3-0 and he knows you're going to put one down the middle and he jacks it out of the ballpark. Well, don't fall behind 3-0, or don't make a better pitch, compete kind of thing. So
And the chances of that 3-0, I mean, it's not, you're probably 70% that he's going to get out.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you before we get into the unwritten rules of waterfowl, what comes to mind when you think of sites that you have seen of unwritten rules in baseball?
Like ones of like contention, or was where I've seen them like play out. I'm not sure.
Either.
Um, I mean, for me, I guess one of the biggest unwritten rules as a pitcher is if I'm out there and and I'm playing the opposing team and I see that they're comfortable in the box, right? They're digging in and they're getting good swings. You got to hit somebody. You just got to. You have to make them uncomfortable, and because if they're just getting comfortable swings on you, you're in trouble. So
Yep.
you have to put a little bit of doubt in their mind and make them a little uneasy. And again, that does not mean throwing at anybody's head or anything like that. Hitting somebody in the thigh or something like that, is what I'm talking about here. But, that is one of those things where definitely have done it before a lot of times. And, if you want to compete, there's got to be certain things that you got to be willing to do. And, You see it in the big leagues. But what I don't get with is, guys throwing at people's head, especially in the big leagues, the way that, the velocity that those guys throw and stuff, that's just a
Hmm.
really dangerous deal. So, um, you know, I'm also old school in the sense of you hit one of my guys, I was going to hit one of your guys the next inning, make up for it. We
Yep.
did that kind of thing. Um, particularly if you hit one of our, our best bats, you know, it's a lot easier for me to do in college and pro ball because I wasn't hitting, when I was in high school.
Someone else,
Somebody they wanted
you
to hit
might.
me. I was going to get in the box too, so they could hit me if they want. But yeah, that's kind of one of those things that you know, those are the ones that really come to my mind, I think, the most.
There was when I was out in Kansas playing, and this kid hit his third home run against us and just cleared the pine trees in left center. It was just a smash, and I think his bat was as high as our backstop. Like it got flipped, right?
Bat flip. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the next guy wore it, and it went back and forth. But I think one of the most bush league things is when you got 2 outs and a guy on second, and this is because I wore one from Trent Henderson, who was a Wichita State's closer. I wore one that was about 94, 95 in my ribs, and it dropped at my feet. Like I absorbed the entire thing. 2 outs, guy on second. He put me on first and about broke a rib. But yeah, got down. And then next ball was a ground ball. They got out of the inning, and that was our 20th inning of that. We played double headers, and we were in the 13th inning of our second game. So it was almost like 1 a.m. Could barely see anything. It's starting to get like misty out, and dude just I just wore it right in the ribs, man. It hurt so bad. And I threw my bat, and the umpire's saying, hey, 7 or 9. I was wearing 9. Hey, 9, easy 9, easy. I was like, I'm just trying to breathe. Like, it knocked me silly a little bit just from the air getting knocked out of me. But yep. And then they rolled
Yeah.
it. So
That's the one thing I love. I love that we've got HP baseball podcast going right now. But that's the one thing I will say. Anybody that wants to criticize a hitter for getting mad because they got hit has never stood in there and took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Because I guarantee you'd be ticked if it did it to you.
It don't feel good.
Nope. No way. So
I mean, I loaded, and that thing was inside my rib cage before I even saw it, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Son of a, yep. It's humming.
Yep.
So,
all right, let's shift gears. Let's talk a little waterfowl, and I'll start it off. I think this is one that we both kind of had, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past. But I think this is one of the bigger unwritten rules, in my opinion, especially guys that are hunting public ground. But we've talked about it before. But the one thing you do not want to do is if I invite you to a hunt on public ground, the next time I go back there 2 or 3 days later, I don't want to show up and see you there hunting with 2 or 3 of your buddies. You know what I mean? And yes, it's public ground. Everybody has the right to hunt there, but that's kind of why this is one of those unwritten rules. It's a common courtesy if someone was kind enough to scout this spot, identify it, and then invite you along. It's the least that you could do is to not go back there and burn it up with all your buddies, because they certainly didn't have to invite you and take you back in that spot. So I think that's probably one of the bigger ones, at least in my opinion, for the public land guys. Be respectful of other guys' spots when they've invited you on the hunt, on public ground or something like that, or even private ground. Going behind them and trying to talk to landowners and getting separate access or things like that. I mean, that's just kind of shady business that I think in the long term is going to cost you more friendships and more opportunities probably than it's going to gain you.
yeah. And I think it's almost in the book that you shouldn't even call and ask permission to go back there. Maybe if you're scouting it and say, hey, Josh, I saw birds in that spot that you took me, man, can you go? And then if you tell me, no, I can't go, but man, if you have time to go hit that up, then go after it, then yeah, I would say that's fine, but not just be like, Josh, can I go over there and hunt if you're not available? I don't know.
I think to your point, if I'm taking you to hunt with me on a public ground spot, it probably says that I trust you a fair bit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, you're probably just not taking every single buddy with you on a hunt like that. So I think you're spot on where if you happen to be scouting it or you see birds going in there or something, and you call me and be like, dude, there's birds back in there. Can you hunt? And if I'm like, man, I got to work or I got the kids or whatever, we'll go ahead or hunt them, whatever. That's a different deal. But like
Yep.
going behind someone's back to try to like sneak around and do it, I think that's where you get into kind of you're treading on the wrong side of the deal there.
And you see I mean, everyone when they hunt, they put on social media, right? So your buddy knows that you just hunted his spot with a couple other dudes and
Well,
shot or didn't shoot birds, and that's the worst.
that's the thing. Like, it's not going to be a secret for long. You're not
No.
going to fool anybody, even if I mean, it's just it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Just be a little common courtesy there will get you a long way, I think.
Yep. There's no way around it. Even if you're taking them to your own spots, I think just don't do it. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
What's next?
I got one, and I think it's more of a tread lightly situation, and it's how to tell someone that their dog is not very good. And it's almost because even if someone hasn't put a ton of training into their dog, that's still like their kid and their pride. And to come out and say, man, your dog is totally effing his hunt. Like, if the guy should be able to tell if the dog's breaking or scaring birds, whatever it may be. I think just to come out, just tread lightly on the way that you tell someone to put their dog in the truck.
Yeah, I think you're right there, but I also agree with a part of another part that you said that I think is also an unwritten rule. Like, don't be the guy that brings their dog to the field when your dog's not fully ready and it ruins the hunt for other people. Unless these are like your boys that like know what you're going through and that you're working and that they're cool with it and like they're fully cool with it. But some people only get to hunt once a week or once every 2 weeks or less than that or whatever. And if it's the time that they get out and your dog is breaking into the decoys when birds are trying to finish, that is not cool. And
Yeah.
everybody, and I'm sure your buddies want your dog to have success and want to see that dog work and want to be able to hunt over that dog too, but in due time when the dog is ready. So I completely agree, man. I mean, as much as I love to hunt over dogs and enjoy that, I've had some hunts completely ruined by dogs that is really, really frustrating. So I think you're spot on with that. And if you find yourself in that situation, you got to be careful and handle that the right way. Probably use a little tact when you're negotiating
Yeah.
that situation.
And well, I mean, just knowing, I would call it more of a common courtesy, but like right now, Kimber is over 11, and like her drive has just dropped this year, maybe last year, but it is like almost non-existent if she's in a field. So the last time that I took her goose hunting, like she ran down a goose and stood over the thing. She would not bring it back. And I'm like, all right, girl, like that's, you ran your course, whatever. But if she's in water, she's getting ducks all day long. So I know now, like as a common courtesy, I'm not taking her back in the goose field. Like her goose days are over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now last year she did get really mad at a goose when it was a combo hunt and we shot a goose down while duck hunting, and she ended up dunking the thing because it was making her mat flapping. And I mean, she put it underwater multiple times. So I think we talked about that, but
she hit the Mortal Kombat fatality finish him.
she had enough. She's trying to drown the thing. And but yeah, I won't. So I'm at that spot now, like just learning her. I mean, if I'm out training stuff, she'll do everything I want, but she stood over that goose and didn't bring her back. And I'm like, yep, that's that. So she'll be out in the duck blind again this year, but she's definitely slowing down, and that's sad to see. So, I won't take her with guys that are, gung ho and I don't know that well, but she's her chain is pulled back to small groups and duck hunting. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. That's a good one too. All right. So I think another one that, again, this is just from my personal experience. So people may disagree with this or not, but um, in my opinion, if you're invited on a hunt, you should keep your calls in the bag until you're either asked to call or they say from the beginning, like, hey, it's cool to call or whatever. Unless you are like you know, an elite caller, right? Like, unless you're Kyle Jones or whatever, whoever, unless you're a guy that everyone gets out of the way when you pull your calls out, like, it's best, in my opinion, to be a little more conservative to start. Keep your calls in the bag. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, when we hunt with Ben, I mean, we're with Ben, we're with guides, and people are calling and stuff, and I keep my calls in the bag until he says, "Get your freaking calls out and start calling," and then I'm like,
Yep.
"Cool," and then I call.
Yep.
But I don't want to get in the way of I mean, those guys put in a ton of work, and presumably if you're hunting with your buddies, they've scouted this. I don't want to be the reason that things don't go well, at least to start. So I'm not going to be the one like hail calling at every duck that flies by or whatever and getting people irritated because I'm calling in a different way than what they're comfortable with if they're bringing me on the hunt, right? If it's a mutual hunt or my hunt that I'm inviting them, it's different. But if it's a hunt that I'm invited on, I'm playing it safe and I'm going to be conservative with that stuff until they either ask me to or tell me to. One of the, that type of situation.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. And also, I would go into, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but trying to, if you're invited on a hunt, don't try to be the quarterback of the entire show, right? Like, if you're invited and it's a group of 6 guys and it's your first time or second time hunting with them, like, let them, they kind of know their jam. And even going back to, like you said, hunting with Ben. So Ben, he will tell you, hey, I want these decoys here, these there, blah blah blah, and kind of give you the game plan of what he wants, and he lets you help and roll with it. Now, when I was out there this past year, I would ask the guides, hey, what do you want done? What do where do you want these birds at? And they're like, no, like, let me do it. So
Mm-hmm.
some guys just want to set up their way no matter what it is, and let that happen if you're invited or whatever it may be if you're on a guided hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really run the risk of being like giving off the impression that you just know everything about everything. If you come out and say like, "Hey, we should move these decoys over here, and we should be doing this, and we should call like that," it's like it's a really difficult situation to navigate, especially if you don't know the guys well. Like let's say, you know, you've got a mutual friend, right? And there's 2 or 3 guys that are there that you don't know, and then one guy that you know well. You got to really use some tact if you're going to offer an opinion on things that are going wrong or something like that. And sometimes it's hard enough to do where it's probably just best to bite your tongue and not, because effectively all you're going to do is, if you put the people off by the way you start talking, you're just going to build tension right off the bat, and that's not going to be an enjoyable hunt for anybody. So um you know sometimes, as hard as it may be, you got to kind of pick your battles, as they say, right? And you know some of them probably most likely aren't worth fighting.
Yep. And that's, I mean, it's a quick way not to get an invite back with that group.
Yep. Yep.
We've hunted with some people and it's like, was I totally glitching or did you catch that?
Nope, you were frozen and glitched.
Yeah. So anyway, people that show up and do that, it might be their last go around to get the invite.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. What
Um,
else you got?
and this goes back to one of our most downloaded episodes of being a good hunting buddy. But again, don't take a free ride. So make sure that you're chipping in on uh, the fuel, on the snacks. Like if you're invited, it's an unwritten rule. It's common courtesy to chip in and help out in whatever way that you can.
Yeah, I mean, most people, when they get invited over to somebody's house for a party or a gathering, they don't show up empty-handed, right? You bring a bottle of wine or a case of beer, whatever it is that you're doing. A duck hunt's probably very similar to that in the sense that if you've got, if you're showing up to a hunt where someone's bringing decoys and someone else has got a boat and someone else has got the lease or whatever, like, you better show up with something, whatever that might be, breakfast or gas money or, whatever it is that you can offer, try to contribute in that sense, because you can guarantee that if someone spent a bunch of money on, gas scouting a spot and a bunch of, somebody else brings a decoy spread that they spend a lot of money on and all these kinds of things, and you just show up like, hey dude, freeloader guy that's here to shoot birds, that's going to rub people the wrong way for sure. So I don't think you can only do what you can do, but stopping at the gas station to pick up some donuts and things like that, that's just an effort thing that shows everyone, hey, like, I didn't have a lot to contribute here, but this is what I could do. And, I took the time to at least do that. And that goes a long way for at least right off the bat, people like, hey, appreciate that. That's cool kind of thing. And it'll help go along.
I would add being punctual on that one as well.
No doubt. No doubt.
Being early is on time.
That actually leads into my next one, if you don't mind. No. My next one was, don't be the squeaky wheel. And what I mean by that is, like, don't be the person in the blind that's either always ringing people's ears or always shooting decoys or always shooting before they call the shot or always complaining about being cold or, oh, we called that shot wrong. Don't be the guy that complains all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
negative Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million things in the course of a duck hunt that can kind of ebb and flow. And if every negative thing you're bringing up, like, nobody's got time for that kind of stuff, right? I mean, everyone's out there trying to have a good time. And if you're always complaining about being cold or, whatever it might be, that's just not a good look for you and probably not going to get you back on another hunt. So, just, kind of read the situation. And if everyone's kind of feeling down, don't pile on for sure. That kind of stuff. I mean, if you're cold, a lot of people are probably cold out there, right? You don't have to announce it to everybody. Everybody's freezing at that point, kind of deal. So, just don't be the squeaky wheel, I think. And, that'll go a long way for you. I mean, I can certainly tell you when I'm hunting with guys and they, get leaky waders and things like that, it's not ideal.
Hey, you want to know something?
Frozen guns, whatever.
I wore those waders until I thought I might be in trouble shortly. Like, we had a serious issue about to go down. So
you were pretty squeaky that morning.
It was a bad morning.
Cold that
never
morning,
never gonna live that one down.
Nope,
no, but I think just the unwritten rule of the blasting the eardrums, and honestly just bringing any safety concern to light should be an unwritten rule. Like, don't be that guy that's swinging your gun around or just don't do it.
Yeah, no question. I only got one more, man, that really came to mind for me.
Yeah,
and it's a question that comes up a lot, and this is definitely not a hard and fast rule, but this is more of just like from our experience and who we've talked to. But tipping guides is one that I think that if you go on a hunt and you have a good experience, you should absolutely do it. The amount that you contribute is sort of where we get into these fuzzy, unwritten kind of guidelines. For us, we've kind of stayed in the 20% range for a hunt. So, waterfowl guides are some of the hardest working people, that you'll be around for this kind of stuff. I mean, the amount of time that they spend on the road, up early every single day, setting decoys, taking down, rain or shine, cleaning birds, all that stuff, man, that is just a grind. And that's not just me just saying that figuratively describing the waterfowl season. Like, it is a legit, bear that those guys tackle every morning. So, I'm a fan of showing your appreciation, but that doesn't mean that everyone. I know Ben, that we've talked to about this before, feels that 15% is still super appreciated. Anything that kind of stuff. For me, it's 20. It just is. But I would say somewhere in between. I think somewhere in the 10 to 20% range is probably where you fall. And for me to tip somebody less than 10%, I would have had to have a absolutely terrible experience with things that were in the direct control of the guide. That does not include killing birds. Unless for some reason you feel that they've not scouted or not made a good effort. I mean, that's really all you can ask. I mean, I tell my kid the same stuff. I'm like, all I care about is you give me good effort. The outcome is what it is, but all you can control is your effort. And if a guy does that, then you can't ask for anything more than that. So for me, definitely 10 to 20%, but I tend to be on the higher end just because I know those guys work their tails off.
And honestly, if you find a guide that is not worth tipping 10%, then you didn't do your homework to, make sure that you're going to a reputable outfit.
Yeah, you probably won't be. We shouldn't want to hunt with that guy again for sure.
Yeah.
So.
No, those are all great, and
I think this is a good topic that I'd like to see continue in the group on our Facebook group, because I'm sure there's others that we're not thinking of. So if you've got things that you believe or fall into this unwritten rule category, feel free to chime in the Facebook group and continue the conversation over there. Anything else, Dan, that you want to hit this episode before we call it good?
Don't pie-face ducks.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Keep your face down. For sure.
That's about it, man.
Okay. Well, cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call it on that, and we'll wrap it up for this week. And yeah, good chat, and I'll talk to you next time, big guy.
Sounds good.
That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media. Check us out over at hpoutdoors.com and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.